How many of you invite it? You're overlooking a bit there, my friends. Those of you who didn't vote, you're overlooking a big bit. Because one of the finest things that could possibly happen is to have a regular source of friendly criticism of the thing that you're doing in life, the thing that constitutes your major purpose at least. I invite it because the things that you're doing daily that may offend other people, you think they're all right or you wouldn't be doing them. And you're going to keep on doing them if somebody doesn't call them to your attention. Is that right?
Right.
So you need a source of friendly criticism. It's one of the most marvelous things in the world. I'm not talking about these people who don't like you and criticize you just because they don't like you. That's no good. I wouldn't let that have any effect on me whatsoever. And on the other hand, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the person who gives me friendly criticism just because he loves me. You know, you can do yourself justice. Much damage that way. I've heard it said out in Hollywood that those stars out there, when they begin to believe they're press agents, and sometimes they do, they're just about through. That's right. Well, you need to have the privilege, ladies and gentlemen, of looking at yourselves through the eyes of other people. You need that privilege. Yeah, we all need it. Because I'll assure you that when you walk down the street, you won't look the same to the other fellow that sees you as you think you look to yourself. And when you open your mouth and speak in conversation or otherwise, you don't, what registers in the other man's mind is not always what you think is registering at all. You need criticism. You need analysis. You need people to point out to you changes that you ought to make, because we all have to make changes as we go along. If we didn't, we wouldn't grow. But did you know that the majority of people resent any kind of suggestion or criticism whatsoever that differs from what they're doing? Anything at all that would change their way of doing things, they resent it. And consequently, they do themselves great damage by resenting. Friendly criticism. Someone has said that there's no such thing as constructive criticism. I can't buy that. I think there is such a thing as constructive criticism. I think it's wonderful. I think it's absolutely wonderful. Just remember that no matter what you're doing, who you are, how well you do it, you'll never get 100% approval from the crowd. Don't expect it. And don't be disturbed too much if you don't get it. Loyalty, number 20, loyalty to all to whom loyalty is due. Loyalty comes at the top of the list in my book of rules of qualifications of people that I want to be associated with. If you don't have loyalty to the people that have a right to your loyalty, you don't have anything. No matter how brilliant you are, how sharp or smart, how well educated, the smarter you are, the more dangerous you may be if you don't have loyalty. If you can't be loyal to the people that have a right to your loyalty. How many of you are loyal to the people that you're supposed to be? Well, that's grand. That's grand. I don't mean to make any of you tell lies, and I'm sure you wouldn't. But I just wanted you to check up. You see, when you start voting on something, before you do it, usually speaking, you stop to think, well, now, do I have loyalty? Do I? And if you don't have it, why, you think of the person in connection with which you don't have that loyalty, and you decide maybe to do something about it. Now, I have loyalty to people that I don't even like. But I do have a sense of obligation to them if I'm related to them in business or professionally or otherwise, or in the family circle. There are a few people there that I don't particularly like. But I'm loyal to them because I have that obligation. If they want to be loyal to me, that's all right. If they don't, that's their misfortune, not mine. I have the privilege of being loyal, and I'm going to live up to that privilege because of the values I get out of it, because I have to live with this fellow. I have to sleep with him. I have to look in the mirror every morning and shave his face. I have to give him a bath every once in a while. And, I have to be on good terms with him. You can't live with a fellow that closely and not be on good terms with him. To thine own self be true, and it must follow as night to day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. And Shakespeare never wrote anything more beautiful and more philosophical than that. To your own self be true. Be loyal to yourself, because you have to live with self. And if you're loyal to yourself, the chances are you'll be loyal to your friends and your business associates. And number 23, the necessary attractiveness of personality to induce cooperation. how about this business of an attractive personality? Is it something you're born with, or is it something that you must do about on your own initiative? You can acquire it. There's only one trait, only one of the 25 factors that go to make up an attractive personality that you're born with, or not born with, as the case may be. Only one.
Personal magnetism.
Personal magnetism. And you can even do something about that. And certainly all of these other 24 factors, you can do something about every one of them, because they're everyone subject to cultivation through what? Personal initiative, of course. You've got to do it yourself. First of all, you've got to know how you stand on each of these points. You've got to know how you stand, and you can't always take your own word for it. You've got to get your wife or your husband or somebody else to tell you. Sometimes you have an enemy, and he'll tell you where you fall down. Did you know that enemies were good things to have once in a while?
Yeah.
Why? Of course. Believe you me, they don't pull punches. And if you'll examine what your enemies or those who do not like you say about you, the chances are that you might learn something of value. If nothing else, you'll learn at least to see to it that you don't let them tell the truth about you. Whatever they say is not correct, because you're going to be so straight in the road that whatever they say about you derogatory is not going to be true. That's an advantage, isn't it? So don't be afraid of enemies. Don't be afraid of people who don't like you, because they may say things that put you on the track of discovery of something that you need to know about yourself. I had a salesman come in to see me some years ago, and he said that he had been with his company about 10 years. And he had made a wonderful record, had several promotions, and was up in the big money, and all of a sudden, 6 months previously, his sales began to go down. People, customers that he used to call on, that used to give him the business, would frown on him. And I noticed when he came in that he had one of these big Texas 10-gallon hats on. I said, by the way, how long have you had that hat? Well, he said, I got it about 6 months ago down in Texas. Well, I said, listen, fellow, are you selling in Texas? He said, no, I don't make Texas very often. I said, well, listen, you wear that hat only when you go down in Texas, because they don't like that hat. It doesn't look good on you. Well, he said, would that make any difference? I said, you'd be surprised what a difference it'll make, your personal appearance. Some people just don't like the way you look, and they won't do business with you. Yes, you can do something about your personality. You can find out the traits that you have that irritate other people, and you can correct those traits. But you have to do it yourself. You have to make the discovery yourself, or you have to get somebody who's frank enough to do it for you. And then number 24, the capacity to concentrate full attention upon one subject at a time. When you start to make a point, exploit it right down to its final analysis and make a climax, and then get on to your next point. Don't try to cover too many points at one time. If you do, you'll not cover any points at all. I wonder how many of you have been making that mistake in your relations with other people, and in selling, and in public speaking, or whatever you're doing. It used to be one of my most outstanding weaknesses. I used to do just that very thing, and I had a man come to me and call that to my attention. And I think no training that I ever had in public speaking was as valuable as that, and it was for free. He didn't charge me anything for it. He said, you have a wonderful command of English, you have a marvelous capacity for enthusiasm, you have a tremendously big store of illustrations that are interesting, but he said, you have a bad habit of taking off after something out there that's not related to the point you're making, and then coming back later on picking up the point. Meantime, it's gotten cold. You see?